The village of Hollow Creek welcomed few outsiders. Emily, new to the village, felt the chill immediately. It wasn't just the autumn wind. The villagers' stares were cold. Their whispers followed her like shadows. Every night screams echoed through the empty streets. They seemed to claw at her window, begging for her attention. The first time she heard the screams, Emily dismissed them as a nightmare. The second time, she sat upright in bed, heart pounding. There was a chilling desperation in those cries. One particularly frigid evening, Emily decided to explore the village. The setting sun cast long, eerie shadows that danced with the wind. As dusk deepened, the screams began. They seemed to be pulling her towards the heart of the village, towards the source of its hidden sorrow. The next morning, Emily tried to brush off the fear. She told herself it was just the wind, just a bad dream. But the fear lingered, a knot of dread in her stomach. She decided to talk to the villagers, to seek an explanation for the nightly screams. She soon discovered that the villagers were as much prisoners of fear as she was. Old Mrs. Hawthorne, her face etched with worry, spoke in hushed tones. "There's been a sadness here for a long time, child. Children have gone missing. Their cries still echo in the night." Her words did little to ease Emily's fear. Instead, they fueled her curiosity. Who were these children? What had happened to them? Days turned into weeks and the screams continued. Emily couldn't escape them. One name kept surfacing in these whispers: Elias Croft. The house, now shrouded in an eerie silence, was said to be cursed. Despite the villagers' warnings, Emily knew she had to see the house for herself. Drawn by an invisible thread of fear and curiosity, she found herself at the foot of the hill. The path leading up to the house was overgrown with weeds, a testament to years of neglect and fear. The air grew heavy with a palpable sense of dread as she approached the house. The house loomed over her, a dark and imposing silhouette against the grey sky. Its windows, like vacant eyes, seemed to follow her every move. As she stepped onto the overgrown path, she felt an icy hand grip her heart. Inside, the house was a tomb of forgotten memories. Dust-laden furniture and cobweb-draped portraits hinted at a life lived and lost. As she reached the top of the grand staircase, a cold gust of wind extinguished her lantern, plunging her into darkness. A child's laughter, faint and high-pitched, echoed through the hallway. Emily fumbled for her matches, her hand trembling. The laughter came again, closer this time, followed by the sound of tiny, running feet. She lit her lantern, the flame casting flickering shadows on the walls. She saw them then. Children, their forms shimmering and translucent, peered at her from the shadows. Their eyes, wide and filled with a profound sadness, seemed to pierce her soul. They were not frightening, but their presence sent a chill down her spine. Emily felt an overwhelming sense of sorrow wash over her. These were the lost children of Hollow Creek, their spirits bound to the house. One by one, the children emerged from the shadows, their voices a soft chorus of whispers. They told her their stories, tales of stolen innocence and unimaginable cruelty. They spoke of a man, Elias Croft, who had lured them to the house with promises of sweets and toys. Emily realized that these children were not here to harm her. They were reaching out to her, hoping that she could help them escape their prison of sorrow. Night after night, Emily returned to the house, drawn by the children's whispers. She spent hours poring over old documents, diaries, letters, and newspaper clippings. Each piece revealed the depth of Elias Croft's depravity. He was consumed by darkness, obsessed with the occult. Croft believed he could attain immortality by trapping innocent souls. The children were his victims, fueling his dark rituals. The weight of this knowledge settled on Emily's shoulders. She vowed to avenge the children and break the curse. But as she delved deeper, strange occurrences began. Objects moved on their own. Whispers followed her through the empty halls. One evening, Emily felt a cold hand on her shoulder. Behind her stood the spectre of Elias Croft. Terror rooted Emily to the spot. She wanted to scream, to run, but her body refused to obey her commands. Croft's laughter echoed around her, a chilling sound that sent shivers down her spine. "You are meddling in matters that do not concern you," he snarled. "Leave this place or suffer the consequences." "What did you do to them?" Emily choked out. "They are mine," Croft roared. "Their souls belong to me." Emily knew that she was running out of time. She needed to act fast to find a way to break his hold on the children's souls. She remembered a passage from one of Croft's journals, a passage that spoke of a ritual, a way to sever the connection between the living and the dead. Emily knew the ritual was fraught with danger, but the children's desperate faces fueled her determination. She had stumbled upon a dusty old grimoire hidden deep within the house. Its pages, filled with arcane symbols and chilling incantations, promised the power to manipulate the veil between the living and the dead. Following the grimoire's instructions, Emily gathered the necessary elements: candles made from graveyard wax, a silver mirror polished to reflect the moon's light, and a lock of hair from one of the missing children. As midnight approached, she arranged the objects on the dusty floor of the attic, the highest point in the house. The air crackled with anticipation as she began to chant the words of the ritual, her voice a low murmur that resonated with the darkness. Shadows danced around her, twisting and contorting in response to her growing power. She felt a shift in the atmosphere, a thinning of the veil that separated the world of the living from the realm of spirits. The air crackled and popped as Emily uttered the final words of the ritual. A blinding white light filled the room, forcing her to shield her eyes. When she could see again, she found herself face to face with Elias Croft. His form, no longer a shadowy spectre, was solid and imposing. "You dare to defy me?" he roared. "Your reign of terror ends tonight, Croft," Emily said. "These children are not yours to control. Their souls deserve peace." She raised the silver mirror, catching Croft's reflection in its polished surface. The mirror flared, bathing the room in an intense white light. Croft's screams echoed through the house, a symphony of rage and despair. The air crackled with energy as the bond between him and the children shattered, releasing their captive souls. Emily watched as the children, their forms glowing brightly, gathered around her. As the light faded, Emily stood alone in the attic. The children were gone, their presence lingering like a fading echo. The house felt lighter, as if a great weight had been lifted. She had freed them from Croft's grasp, but at what cost? The ritual had taken its toll on her, leaving her drained and weak. She stumbled towards the attic window, gasping for breath. The fresh night air revived her, filling her lungs with the sweet scent of freedom. Looking down at the village below, she saw that the lights were on in the houses. Laughter carried on the wind, a sound that had been absent for far too long. Hollow Creek was finally free from its curse. But as Emily turned to leave the attic, she noticed something strange. Her reflection in the silver mirror no longer shimmered with life. Emily wandered the empty halls, her footsteps echoing in the silence. She was a prisoner now, bound to the place where she had sought peace. The air was filled with whispers, echoes of children's laughter and tormented screams. They swirled around her, a reminder of her sacrifice and fate. She saw glimpses of the children, their translucent forms in the shadows. They reached out, their touch a cold caress. Their eyes, once grateful, now held a strange knowing. As years turned into decades, Emily's story faded into legend. She became another ghost story, whispered around campfires. Some said she was a guardian angel protecting the village. Others claimed she was a vengeful spirit seeking to draw others into darkness. But the truth lost to time was far more tragic. Emily was a lost soul, forever bound to the house on the hill.